You're born in Thebes around 1300 BCE, the city of temples, dust, and endless sun. The air smells of clay sweat and lotus sap. Your mother hums an old hymn to Amun, while your father, a minor scribe in the temple of Karnak, dips his reed in ink and writes your name on a shard of limestone. It's the first and last time he writes it with affection, not duty. You grow up among papyrus scraps and jars of black soot. Other children play by the river. You copy glyphs on broken pottery with sticks. You learn early that ink is heavier than blood. It binds you to the gods, but never sets you free. At 6, the priest scribes visit your father's house. They see how your small fingers hold the reed steady, how your eyes follow symbols before you even speak them aloud. They call it talent. Your mother calls it blessing. But it's neither. It's a sentence. You're taken to the house of life, part school, part monastery, part prison. The gates close behind you with the sound of stone grinding against stone. The air inside smells of ink mold and discipline. Rows of boys sit cross-legged chanting lists of signs until their voices break. Every mistake earns a reed stroke across the back. Every perfect line earns silence, which is supposed to feel like praise. You learn that the gods speak only through symbols, and your job is to make sure no one mishears them. You learn that error isn't just failure, it's blasphemy. You sleep on reed mats beside jars of ink thicker than blood. The ink stains your fingers permanently. The smell never leaves your skin. Your father visits once proud but distant. He tells you the same thing his master once told him. We are the hands of the gods, but never their voice. That night you realize what he means. The words you write will belong to kings and priests, never to you. By the time you're 10, you've memorized every sign for Pharaoh, offering, and obedience. But you still don't know how to write freedom. It's not that you're forbidden to. The word simply doesn't exist. You never get to choose what you'll be, only what you'll copy. The house of life becomes your entire world. Walls painted with gods who watch but never answer, corridors echoing with the scratch of reeds on papyrus. Your days follow the rhythm of discipline, dawn prayers, copying drills, grammar recitations, silence at meals. Even the dust in the air feels trained. You start before sunrise when the air is still cool enough to breathe. The head scribe, old and sun-leathered, paces between the students like a jackal guarding a tomb. His reed pen taps your shoulder whenever your line wavers. The ink runs from crushed soot-red ochre and Nile water. The smell stains your breath, your dreams. You learn the weight of symbols, how the smallest stroke can change the meaning of a king's decree, and how a wrong stroke can cost a man his hands. You learn that writing isn't expression. It's obedience carved in ink. Your body adjusts to the stillness. Your back bends like papyrus stalks drying under the sun. Your fingers harden into claws from hours of gripping the reed. When the pain grows too sharp, the master says, "Good." The body remembers what the mind forgets. Sometimes you sneak glimpses of the outside world, brickworkers passing with dust in their hair, fishermen shouting by the river, the scent of baked barley drifting from the streets. You envy their freedom even when they look exhausted. At least they sweat for themselves. By 12, you can copy entire prayers from memory. You can write the book of coming forth by day without missing a glyph. You can transcribe orders to tax farmers, draft temple inventories, and record the deaths of men you've never met. Every word you write becomes law for someone else. Once during an inspection, a nobleman asks you what you hope to become. You hesitate, then say the only answer that won't get you whipped, useful. He laughs and drops a date fruit into your ink-stained hand. You don't eat it. You press it in your palm until it bursts sweet juice mixing with black soot. The stain it leaves looks like blood. At night, you dream of writing your own name on a scroll and sealing it with your mark. But even in dreams, the reed breaks. Years pass. The temple library grows higher, scrolls stacked like bones. You copy lists of offerings, births, deaths, decrees, the bureaucracy of eternity. And in every line you leave yourself behind a little more. You are shaping memory itself, yet you are forbidden to have one of your own. You begin to understand the cruel perfection of your craft. You make others immortal by ensuring you are forgotten. You're 25 when the priests finally call you Sesh per A, scribe of the great house. Congratulations. You've reached the highest honor a man of ink can hold the right to write what others will worship. Your new world smells of stone sweat and sandalwood. The temple archives are cool even in the cruelest heat. Long corridors lined with papyrus rolls that whisper when the wind moves through them. You're trusted now to record temple tributes, harvest counts, royal decrees. Every mark you make shifts the weight of silver and grain across the land. You no longer copy words. You manufacture truth. When Pharaoh declares victory in a war, you know he nearly lost. You make sure the papyrus agrees. When a noble dies mysteriously, you write that he joined the gods in peace. Your reed pen becomes a blade sharper than any soldier's bronze. You wear linen instead of rags. You eat honey bread instead of barley mash. When you walk through Thebes, peasants bow and murmur scribe like it means divine. But you know what it really means, obedient hands that do not speak. You're surrounded by luxury, but never ownership. The ink jars the scrolls. Even your own desk belonged to the temple. You write decrees for land you'll never step on, catalog offerings you'll never taste, and praise gods you can't afford to offend. Sometimes the high priest asks you to read back your work. His voice is full of power. Yours is an echo. You kneel, unroll the scroll, and recite words that sound eternal, but mean nothing to you anymore. At night you copy funerary texts, the Book of the Dead, for the tombs of nobles. You trace the spells that promise safe passage through the afterlife. Each hieroglyph glows faintly under the lamplight owls, scarabs, ankhs, tiny fragments of eternity. You wonder who will write yours when you die. Probably no one. Your spine aches from years of bowing over scrolls. Your vision blurs from candle smoke and hours of squinting. You start hearing phantom sounds, the whisper of reed pens even when the room is silent. Ink has soaked so deeply into your skin that no washing removes it. The smell follows you like a second shadow. But the strangest thing is pride. Because despite the pain, despite the silence, you know your words outlive everything. Kings die, temples crack, floods erase cities, but your script remains. You've become invisible, yet immortal. It's a beautiful lie, and you believe it because you must. The young apprentices now bow to you, whispering your name with reverence. You teach them the same mantra your master taught you. The reed is eternal. The hand is not. And in that moment you finally understand what all scribes learn too late. You don't serve the Pharaoh. You serve the illusion that memory can outlast death. You're 50 now, your hand still steady, but your eyes blur before sunset. The scrolls seem to grow heavier each year, and the light dimmer even in daylight. The temple boys call you Old Reed, half in respect, half in jest. You correct their spelling, but never their laughter. Thebes is changing. Pharaoh's banners fade. New gods rise, old temples crumble beneath sand and neglect. What once felt eternal now feels temporary, even the language itself. Foreign merchants bring new symbols, faster marks, alphabetic scribbles, simple lines that mock your life's work. You call them childish. But deep down you understand the danger. They don't need 10 years of training. They don't need a house of life. They need only speed. And in Egypt, even eternity must now hurry. The temple coffers shrink. Papyrus grows scarce. You're told to reuse old scrolls, scrape away names of forgotten kings to make space for new ones. You obey, but each stroke feels like murder. The ink dust tastes bitter like burnt offerings. One morning, you wake to find the scribe school half empty. The young ones have left for the cities to serve merchants or foreign generals. They say there's no future in hieroglyphs. They're not wrong. You stay, Because you don't know how to live without the sound of reed on papyrus, the smell of ink in morning heat. You tell yourself loyalty is sacred, but it's fear. Fear of becoming nothing once the scrolls stop needing you. Your hand begins to tremble. You switch to the easier hieratic script, simpler, faster, less holy. You hate it. It feels like writing in whispers instead of song. The priests approve. They say it saves time. You smile and nod because you've learned to do both without meaning either. The temple walls crack. Rain seeps through the ceiling. You watch ink streak down the plaster black lines crawling like insects. The gods melt with the rain. And for the first time, you wonder if the heavens are reading your story too, or erasing it. When the last pharaoh of your youth dies, no one orders a new tomb inscription. The new rulers speak another tongue. They build palaces with no space for scribes. Your tools, your craft, your sacred art, all replaced by quicker hands and cheaper words. You're left in a small side room filled with discarded scrolls, copying inventories no one will ever read. The ink runs dry faster now. The papyrus crumbles like ash under your touch. Your back hunches permanently. Sometimes you whisper the old prayers aloud just to hear a voice that still remembers. And one day the temple doors close for the last time. You're told to go home, but you don't have one. So you stay among the ruins, scratching lines in the sand with a broken reed, pretending the desert still listens. In the end, your only audience is the wind. It doesn't bow, it doesn't bless, it just blows your words away. You are old now, skin, like dried papyrus eyes, dulled to amber. The city of Thebes lies quiet. The Nile has shifted its course, leaving the old docks stranded in silt and ghosts. Children no longer chant hymns to Amun. They speak new names, foreign gods, foreign kings. You live in a mud brick hut near the ruins of the temple you once served. Each morning, you shuffle to its steps and sit among the fallen columns, tracing symbols in the dust with your fingertip. Sometimes you forget what they mean. Sometimes that feels merciful. When strangers pass, they see only an old man covered in soot. They don't know you once spoke the language of gods. They don't know that every grain of dust here was once sealed with your signature. Your hands tremble too much to write now, but your mind still drifts in lines and glyphs. You think in ink. You dream in symbols. The world no longer needs your alphabet, but you do. It's the only place you still exist. One evening, a sandstorm rolls in from the west. The wind howls through the ruins, rattling old doors like drums of the dead. You crawl inside the temple's antechamber, clutching a small jar of dried ink, your last possession. You dip your finger in the dust and smear a single glyph on the wall, Ankh. Life. It's crude, shaky, imperfect. But for the first time, it's yours. Not Pharaoh's decree. Not a priest's record. Your word. Your truth. When morning comes, the wind has already covered it with sand. The wall is blank again, as if you never were. Centuries pass. Your bones crumble in the same earth you once wrote upon. Above you, dynasties fall, deserts shift, and scholars dig through time looking for names like yours and find none. But they find your handwriting. They find the scrolls, the records, the words you carried through the ages. They marvel at them, never knowing your face. They call it the work of the ancients. They're right. You were born to write the lives of others. You lived to preserve their names. And you died exactly as they intended, silent, essential, forgotten. But somewhere in the dust of your vanished temple, a single grain still holds the shape of your glyph. That is your immortality, not your name, but your trace. You were born to record eternity. You lived as its servant. And when eternity forgot you, your ink remained. You were born to remember others, lived as memory itself, and died erased, but not meaningless.